You are now listening to the Minority Trailblazer podcast. Let the story begin.
One time for the lovers, two times for the ladies, three times for the brothers, four times for the babies. Do you love her? 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 One time for the lovers, two times for the ladies, three times for the brothers, four times for the babies. Do you love her? 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 Brown skin, love her brown skin, love her brown. Brown skin, love her brown skin, love her brown. She my brown skin, love her brown skin, love her brown. She my brown skin, love her brown skin. Hold me down.
What it do, world? It's your boy Greg Eel, the Culture Change Agent. Welcome to the Minority Trailblazer podcast, man. Episode 4, Season 7. I know we took Christmas and New Year's off, but we got 36 plus hot and ready episodes coming your way, man. I'm excited to be back. First of all, what's going on in the world? Like, for real. Like, you got people storming, sieges. I know people have seen all the tweets because y'all smart and stuff like that, but I'm like, really? Like, really? How did all these people get inside the not the White House, but the Capitol building? Like, that make no sense, right? People have died. Like, I don't know what's going on in the world right now, man, but the energy's off. I'm gonna be honest, man. My man's car just got towed in front of our own house. I was driving to DC earlier last week to visit my brother, man. Shout out to my brother, man, who had my niece, Phoenix, man. So I'm a proud uncle, man, driving to see her. And now I had put some bad gas in it, car stuttering. Car ain't even past 70,000 miles. I don't know what's the mojo this week or 2021. Let's get it back together. So if you had them blessings, man, throw them blessings my way, man. Send me something. I need that good energy. But on some real stuff, man, let's keep our thoughts and prayers with the politicians some are doing a phenomenally bad job. They've been doing a bad job of leadership. So just, let's get this U.S. together, man. But you already know what the stance that we have with this podcast, man. We try to own our own space. I know politics is essential and laws are essential to the governance and the ability and the aid for a lot of our community. But we just got to continue to support each other, support ourselves, which is why I'm excited about today's podcast. Because this brother and his brand supported us, be a sponsorship for season 7. He's been supporting the black culture in general, with the beard, hair, face, fragrance, and all those products for skincare and healthcare and wellness. And man, his journey as an entrepreneur, as a man, has been phenomenal, and I can't really wait to share his story. But first and foremost, I want to give a special shout out to our sponsors of this season. First, RecDiv is one of the only platforms specifically for HBCU students, for companies that are recruiting HBCU students. So check out recdiv.com to find out more information, get you a job, or post your jobs on there. So shout out to my boy D Griggs over there at ATX Web Designs. Also, ScotchPorter.com, the premier wellness skincare beauty product for men of color and beyond. So if you got beard, if you got hair, if you got all that good stuff, man, head over to ScotchPorter.com. Once you sign in, a pop-up will come up to get your first $10 off an order. So just put your email address and your phone number to sign up for great stuff. They got some special deals going on. Make sure if you're shopping too, use Rakuten, because Rakuten, they got cash back on some of your purchases. So shout out to Rakuten. They not a sponsor of the show, but I done got a couple $100 worth of cash back through the Rakuten on their special sales. So shout out to Rakuten as well. But go over to ScotchPorter.com, man, and grab you some stuff and tell them Greg E. Hill sent you. So without further ado, let's jump into the show. Hope you having a phenomenal start to this year. If you haven't, if you need to pick me up, whatever, email me at greg@greggyhill.com. I got time to chop it up and all that good stuff, man. Love y'all. Thank y'all for your consistent support, man. We've had groundbreaking downloads this season, so I thank you from the bottom of my heart. Continue to download, continue to share this podcast to your friends and family, and continue to change the freaking culture. So without further ado, we here, episode 4. Let the story begin. Welcome to the Minority Trailblazer podcast, and I'm your host, Greg E. Hill, the culture change agent. On this show, we interview young, successful minorities in a variety of fields to educate, empower, and inspire our current and future generation of leaders. And today, I got a show for you. I'm not even gonna go through the whole bio because at the end of the day, that's why we had a person on the show. They're gonna give the context, they're gonna get the flavor, and I'm gonna let them introduce themselves. So, Minority Trailblazer Nation, let's give a I don't care because it's COVID time, so you're not probably on the train, you're not in the car, wherever you at, and hopefully, hey, if you got a kid, bring your kid around, especially a teen, you grab them, bring them around, and give them applause to my brother Calvin Quallis to the Minority Trailblazer podcast. Man, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, man. I don't know how I follow up all that energy.
Hey, man. Hey. At the end of the day, man, it's a blessing to have it, man, because, you know, this year, man, unfortunately, there's some people that don't have any energy right now.
Yep.
Not here, man. So
Very
any
true.
second, regardless, you know, as an entrepreneur, the highs, the lows, and all this other stuff, we happy to be here. You feel me?
Yep, absolutely. 100%.
So let's go ahead.
Honored to be here.
Yep. Let's go ahead and jump right in, man. So, Calvin, man, if you could share with our audience, man, a quote or a mantra that you live by, and then a story about how you apply that quote or mantra to your everyday life.
Sure. So there's a few. One is my primary aim, like my life's primary aim. So my life's primary aim is to get out of bed excited, feel great, confident, work on new and exciting things that ultimately have a profound impact on my lives and the lives of others in a meaningful way. And so that's something that I read every day after I say my prayer, and a whole host of other things. But those are some of the things that I recite to myself every day. Yeah. Entrepreneurship is very hard and challenging. So another one is the bigger the goal that you want to accomplish, the more impact that you want to have, the more frustration you're going to face, keep going. That's another one that I say to myself. And then I know I'm going to screw this one up, but I read a quote some time ago it was by Oprah. And it was something like, I got so, I'm going to screw it up. But it was about the climb. It was about the climb and having a mountain to climb, and just got so stuck on like frustrating and having mountains to climb that you forgot that you even should be blessed to have a mountain to climb in the first place. So it's really about like perspective, right? And so those are three mantras.
So when was the last time you woke up and it was like, it was on the wrong side of the bed, right? Yeah. And what did you do to shift your mindset to like, hey, let's lock in. Remember. These are some of these issues or problems that you may be facing you or that you were asking for a couple of years ago. Like, what was that moment? Walk us through, and how did you correct that mindset?
Yeah, I think a lot of it is like just moments of gratitude, right? Like, so understanding that whatever I'm facing right now, there's someone out there facing something much more challenging. So, practicing in those moments, right? Like frustrating, overwhelming days, like little things like, I was able to get up. I am healthy. I can walk, right? I have no problem breathing, right? Like I can enjoy a cup of coffee right now. My mom's still here for me to call my mom to go see her. Like those things just kind of like level sets and sort of reshifts when you're having like those really bad days.
So let's go ahead and jump right in, man. If you could share with our audience, man, a little bit about you before we get into Scotch Porter, your entrepreneurship journey, man, and talk all through that. Can you share with our audience? Matter of fact, let me take a step back. For everybody that's new to the podcast, man, we try to hit three different quadrants. The first quadrant is a little bit about the context and the background of said person that's coming on the show. Then we just try to walk through where they're at present day in regards to their business, etc. Talk through that, as well as certain things that they learned through our business, hiring, firing, all that good stuff, because he can probably attest that starting a business and getting people, that's the first thing, selling the products. But then once you start to scale and have to hire people and then terminate people, then negotiate contracts if you ain't been here before, and it gets real dicey. So we want to share that experience. And then lastly, share with the future, because at the end of the day, as 2020 has taught us, you can if you can have the present day booming, but if you don't prepare for right now, like all these theaters had all these movies playing and everything else, and what? And so we always are future focused to a certain extent, man. So share with the audience, man, a little bit about yourself, where you come from, who you are, before Scotch Porter, before all that stuff.
Got it. So born in Brooklyn, raised in New Jersey.
Okay.
Consider myself somewhat of a gentle giant. problem solver,
Yeah.
tiny bit of a mama's boy, just a little bit. Staunch supporter of Black-owned businesses and Black entrepreneurs, and the founder of Scotch Porter.
Mm-hmm. So where'd you go to high school? Were you a single parent? I mean, was it a single parent household? Did you have siblings? Like, not where you go to high school. Did you go to college? Like, walk us through that real quick.
Yeah. So, went to William Patterson University.
And that's in New Jersey?
That's in New Jersey. Yep. Graduated with a bachelor's degree. Come from a single parent household. My mom raised me and my brother. Did quite a wonderful job as a teen mom. She was 15 when she had me. So yeah.
And from your childhood, what would you say was the number one thing from your childhood, or you can say a couple things that have played a major role in your development as a man, but also too as an entrepreneur?
So from childhood, I remember really growing up in my mom's shop, and how, she had a barbershop and a beauty parlor.
Oh, wow.
And And she, how she and some of the other stylists people would walk into the shop. Me and my brother spent a lot of time there. People would walk into the shop, always a pretty intuitive kid, in that I noticed how some people didn't necessarily feel their best. And my mom and the stylist had like this ability to like transform them. They get up, look in the mirror, pop the collar, walk out with an entirely new step. So as a kid, very early on, I had this observation that, self-care, grooming really had the potential to help people feel better about themselves and really change perspective. So that's probably one thing that has transferred over, right? And hence the reason for me starting Scotch Porter.
Yeah, man. So now let's go ahead and jump into it, man. It's crazy. Here's the concept for everybody to know how podcasts work in minds is. Typically at this point, it's crazy. After a year off, I've gotten literally hundreds of PR requests this year, because let's think about consistency. Consistency so long, like your catalog is just continue. Like even when you're not recording, I'm like, did I release something? Like I'm confused. Like every day, but you pop on a different search engine, and I get a lot of stuff. And typically, and I love everybody requests that I get, but I read them like, it ain't a good fit for now. And I looked through it and I said, oh, cool, this is a cool brand. I looked it up. I was like, oh snap, boy, they doing things on like a different level. I said had to readjust my reply. Like, hey, hi, Mr. Blah blah blah. Like typically, hey, let's do it right here. Let's do it right there. So if you could, man, Scotch Porter. And then the crazy. It's kind of wild how life works. I was having some trouble with my hair. Like I have, I had natural hair and all this other stuff. And I had like a beard solution, but I didn't have any kind of hair thing. And I was, fortunately and unfortunately, the Black culture, like, no, everybody shun big box. They're like, no, you get Black owned, go to this thing in the back alley and get your product and go to this. So somebody said, my boy, Timothy Noble, shout out to Timothy Noble. He's frat out there in Dallas, Texas. And he was like, yo, G, you need to holler at Scotch Porter. And I was like, Scotch Porter? I said, okay, cool. And then, of course, I don't know, he mentioned it, and then all of a sudden my whole timeline blew up. Scotch Porter, that. I'm like, what in the world? And I go lie, I ain't trusted at first, because I was like, man, it's backed by Target, and I didn't know if it was Black owned, because, there's a lot of predators out there. And no offense to companies getting how they do, but they got the Black people in the front, and then, it's bought out. I mean, it's bought out. It's not even ran by a Black person. I'm like, okay. So I was like, And then, lo and behold, I get an email from your PR and your marketing director saying, hey, we were interested in doing X, Y, and Z. And I was like, wow, that makes sense. And then and I knew it was real, because I know it's a tangent, but y'all women gonna feel it. I just got braids for the first time, right? And I just got braids, and my head was splitting, like literally. Like first time you get hit, I've never had braids. I'm like, I could not move, and I thought I had COVID. I was like tripping. Literally, I was like, and I was on the call with, and make sure I say her name right, Alicia.
Yeah, Alicia.
And then in mid-call, I just, I'm comfortable. I told her what was going on. She said, hey, Greg, just get some aspirin, put it on your thing, blah, blah. And it worked. The reason why I shared that, because this is a company that stands by what they believe in. During a regular call, this is why working on Black business is so good, right? Especially when people are like really real, not like the Black dude trying to act like. I'm like, bro, no, bro, like be yourself. I immediately gave the sister my issue. She solved it via a call about a sponsorship for a major company with our podcast, and that just shows not only the two lanes y'all kind of thing. So let me unpack that and share. where did Scotch Porter come from? The name, the idea. And I know it started in the kitchen 4 years ago. So now here's your unpack the journey, man.
Yeah. So again, my mom owned a beauty parlor barbershop, spent a lot of time there. Really fascinated by how she and the other barbers were able to kind of transform people, help them feel better about themselves. That stuck with me, went off to college, broke, frustrated, like a lot of college students, didn't quite know what I wanted to do with my life. And, I had some peers that figured it all out by senior year, and I hadn't quite figured it out. And at times felt like a loser. A lot of times felt like a loser because it's like, what am I going to do with my life? I do remember like on some of the most frustrating times or just like terrible weeks, right? You walk into a shop, take the last $20 I had in my pocket, get a haircut, and like, man, that just changes everything.
You got $1 in your pocket and you feel like you the boss.
Broke, right? Broke. But you leave the shop and you just feel great. So, from those experiences, always known that like self-care had the ability to kind of make you feel better about yourself, change perspectives. Post-college had gotten a couple of jobs. I would say that they were pretty decent paying jobs. They were good paying jobs for somebody just graduating out of college. But it just wasn't it. Like it wasn't.
Was it in finance? What industry was it in originally?
So the first one was at a global design firm, and then the second one was in finance at a market research firm. And just like spending like the rest of my life behind an office cubicle, not really given a shot by, people that don't necessarily look like me. I just wasn't interested in running in the rat race, right? It just wasn't for me. So I didn't, that too was a time where I didn't really feel good about myself and kind of where I was in my life. I do recall like one evening, I'd always get off the train. I would always take a train and I would literally get off at this station on Broad Street, train station, and transfer over to another train and get home. And across the street from that train station, hadn't noticed it before I got on that same train hundreds of times before. One of those evenings had spotted this brownstone building. I honestly, I don't know what it was. I don't know if it was like just an epiphany from my time at my mom's shop or what it was. I just wasn't feeling good about what I was doing with my life. And somehow I was like, what if I open up a barbershop, And about 6 months later or so, I ended up opening up a barbershop. Almost immediately spotted an issue a lot of our customers had, predominantly African-American men, Hispanic men, very dry, frizzy, damaged hair and beards. Bored with the daytime desk job that just wasn't fulfilling, looking for something else to do. So evenings and weekends, created a hobby for myself in the kitchen of my home, started to learn everything I could about natural ingredients, produce products from the kitchen, hand to the barbers. I'm not a barber. Hand to the barbers. I'm not a barber. Hand to the barbers who would use it on the customers, would get feedback, tweak, modify until I created something that our customers thoroughly enjoyed. And then we have people coming into Newark, New Jersey, which is where our shop was, from places like Brooklyn and Connecticut to purchase our products. Launched the .com. Things then really began to take off. We started out with about 2 products. We have about 20 some odd products. Was a D2C business, direct-to-consumer business, online business. As of March of this year, had successful launches at Target and Walmart. And really excited about, really expanding our mission to help men look and feel the best, live their best, most fulfilled lives, being able to do that online and reach consumers offline.
Man, so now it's my job to do the dirty work and unpack all that because there's so many things. And I want to start by awareness, right? And it seems small and subtle, but I want everybody to hear me out. The fact that this whole time you were on this train, you never even looked at it, right? Time and time again, you're in the routine. And at one time, you just looked at your surroundings and that led to opening up a barbershop and whatnot. So can you talk real quick about just how awareness has played a role in your life as of now? Because I think a lot of us sometimes we're looking for success in that one way, right? We have this one idea. And then if you look at your awareness, a lot of times there's opportunities or potential opportunities around us, but we're so stuck that, hey, no, I want to be an entrepreneur, I want to be a speaker, I want to write a book. It's like, hold up, but no, you're missing that right there in front of you. So, what would you say as far as awareness and how it's played a role in your career?
Yeah. So taking a little step back, the one thing, now that I think about it, I was very unhappy with like just kind of like where my life was like headed. Like honestly, I was blessed. I had a very good paying job, but it just wasn't fulfilling, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I was approaching 30 years old, and I've always had like what I believe to be really great ideas, but never never really jumped on them, right?
Yeah.
Because like, oh, yo, are you smart enough? Are you even capable or qualified to kind of get this done? And kind of decided like, bro, you're about to turn 30 years old. Do you really want to live with a bunch of regrets? And so I think I made a decision probably like 6 months before 30 that the next sort of idea that came to mind, I would spend some time like investing in it and really trying to see it through, right? And I think that just opened my mind up to opportunities and even surroundings. Because again, I was on this train hundreds of times, never noticed this brownstone building before. So I think it was like this mind switch, like this mental switch that kind of opened up the doors for where I am now today, right? Which is, building a business that aligns with my personal why, right? Who would have thought that that I would have, opened up a barbershop, or that I would have started creating products from the kitchen of my like that was never like I didn't know that was written in the cards.
Yeah. And so now let's walk through it. So you open up, were you still working at the job when you opened up this barbershop, or you quit your job?
No, I was still working at the job.
So you're still working.
I had a mortgage and I had bills.
You working at a job, you do that. You're creating products out of the kitchen. So your degree, you were not well versed in like science and anything like that. So like, did you YouTube stuff? Were you just researching? Like, how'd you even go about that? I'm trying to imagine you right now in your kitchen, like making products. Like what was your first product? What were the first two products you created? And like, how'd you go about from you making them actually?
So I had a family friend that made like lotions and whatnot. Yep. And so she taught me how to make lotions. She didn't know how to make hair care products because hair is just very different from like a basic lotion. But she taught me how to make a lotion. So from that knowledge, I started to do a little bit of research on ingredients and started to sort of use that lotion base to kind of test products out on the customer. So just like a lot of Google is right. Google, Bing, Yahoo, were my friends, just a lot of research, checking out the natural hair movement, and tons of bloggers and whatnot recommended certain oils to use. So it was just a lot of online research.
And what makes you kind of a unicorn in the space? And I know you're in the space, so there's probably a lot more. But you're one of the few that I know Black male people in this space and leading this movement, and outside of just beard. Because I have a couple of shout out to Beard and Bro. They got their beards, but a whole natural face, beard, boom. And what does it mean to you being one of the few Black male people in this space? Because let's be real. I like to be authentic in this podcast. A lot of times, men outside of getting haircuts, we don't really do. And I know some people listen to our podcast. Y'all be like, well, I do, but nah, majority of people where I come from, New Jersey, they not exfoliating their face. They not like doing a double face, boy. Like I got the package. I had like the face scrub, the brown one, the clear one. You got the 3 different beard scrubs. Like that's not a norm in our culture. Like outside of getting the cut, you wash your face, you keep it moving. Shoot, I'm gonna be honest. I didn't even wash my face until like 23. I thought like the water hitting the face was like that. So like, did you have any kind of imposter syndrome when you first started? Like, hold up, this is typically a Black women dominated space, like the natural hair care stuff, and you coming in. So what was your thoughts on being one of the first pioneers, I believe, in this space?
So a couple of things, like, Richie Lou Dennis, Sundial, right? He started 20 some odd years ago, honestly. Like he's the pioneer. And even before him, I think that there were others like Bronner Brothers and, some other folks. But my mom owned a beauty parlor barbershop, right? So, I was, as a kid, I grew up seeing my mom and some of the other folks, like that's what they did, right? So, I always kind of understood the importance of self-care, and the way that I look at self-care isn't necessarily about like, combing or just brushing your hair. I honestly see self-care and the practice that we do every morning in the mirror is like meditation. It's like, it's taking time out for yourself to take care of yourself, to sort of arm yourself before you go out in the world, and have all these different things that pop up, right? So I actually see self-care and grooming as sort of like a meditation moment, taking time out for yourself. But in terms of, how I even came up with some of this stuff, I think it's just naturally coming from the background that I did growing up in my mom's shop.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And now let's talk through. Okay, so you started. When did you make that transition from working your job to then now the revenue is coming in? So now that you can leave with a mortgage, with already 30+-year-old bills, you feel me? Because them bills hit differently at that age. At 22, you can just jump in. Hey, you don't got nothing for the most part.
Cell phone.
Yeah, that's it. And now 30, you got a little car, probably. You got this, you got that. So when was that moment, and what created that moment?
So one, I didn't quit my job right away, and we had gotten the business to, I would say, a place where it wasn't quite enough to kind of take care of the salary that I was making. But I think I came to a point where the business looked like it was doing pretty well. Mm-hmm. And then I also came to a point where I was like, if you don't do this now, if you don't leave now, you probably never will. And so kind of just one day made a conscious decision. I was like sitting at my desk doing some things that I didn't want to do, right? Like looking at a spreadsheet or whatever. And I was like, I literally remember that moment, because I had like this moment, this out of body moment where the best way that I can explain it is like, I felt like I was like gonna fall asleep, or I was like dying. Like I don't know how to explain it, but at that moment I was like, this can't be it. This is not it. You gotta leave. And so I made a decision to leave. Sort of took a leap of faith. And what was interesting about that time is that when I sat down with my boss to tell her I was leaving, she told me too that she was leaving. And she took care of me. So, right. So like she gave me like a 6-month severance package. I didn't expect, I didn't even ask for, I didn't even ask
6 months.
Look at God, 6 months. I didn't even ask for a severance because I figured, I'm quitting. I'm not going to get severance. So things just worked out. Took a leap of faith and things worked out.
Yeah, shout out to her, whoever she is, man. Her or him or her. Shout out to them, man.
Yeah.
That's a golden parachute right there, brother.
Yes, it is.
So. And now we're about to get to present day, but before we get to present day, man, go back into the lab. Like you said, you're still in that space. You're trying to figure things out. What were the first few obstacles that you had with the business, and how did you tackle them? Because the context behind this is majority of people that's listening, they're either corporate thugging, doing their thing, they cool with that. They just listen to this for inspiration. They just love good stories. Then there's one camp that is already successful in business, looking for like little tools and edges to get better. And then there's another camp that they're starting out and they're maybe in the product space, etc. So what I always try to say, what was the first few obstacles, not the obstacles you have now, but the first few obstacles that you were like, wow, am I going to be able to overcome this? And share the audience how you overcame them.
Yeah, the beginning, it's still challenging right now.
Of course, the obstacles just get bigger.
They just get bigger, right? But I think there's just like a bunch of unknowns, right? I didn't know anything about running a business. I didn't know anything about managing a team. I didn't know anything about, from my job, I knew a little bit about finances, like spreadsheets, but I didn't know how to truly manage, finances, a bit, businesses' money. Also, we started out self-funded, right? So I didn't have a bunch of cash, right? So there was a lot of obstacles from the financial obstacles, figuring out how you're going to pay this person or pay this vendor to, creating effective marketing plans, just a bunch of fires that come along the way. I think in terms of how I overcame those obstacles is really like shifting my mindset, right? And started to begin to think about challenges. And even today, like there's always going to be new and different challenges, right? All the time. And our job isn't to avoid those challenges, it's to grow through those obstacles and challenges, right? Because on the other side of that, right? Yeah. On the other side of that is like you learn a tremendous amount. And so now today, there's always new and different obstacles and challenges that come along the way. But I'm just like, okay, yeah, it's going to happen. But I know on the other side of that, I'm going to learn a tremendous amount. And this challenge, it just becomes a lot. It becomes a lot easier, as you go through new and different challenges, because you kind of expect them. So it was really just like shifting my mindset and growing through obstacles and challenges, the way that I looked at challenges.
Was it a lot of it through experience or through mentorship, through books, a cornucopia of all of them? Like, what was the key driver in mindset? Because I think a lot of that in business and life, it's all mindset, to be honest. Yeah. That's biblical, but it's also just general. Your mindset on the day. Two people can have the same exact days, and one person say this is miserable, one person say it's the best day of my life. So what was it like? Let's go right now. How do you kind of walk me through how you kind of pace a positive or a growth mindset within what you do now and how you move?
So there's a couple of things I think was very important is figuring out your personal why, right? Mm-hmm. Like what gets you motivated, what gets you out of bed every day. You got to know what that is, right? And once you know what that is, I think your job or your duty is to make sure that it aligns with what you do every day, right? So whether that's a business or a job, if you can find a way to align your personal life's why with your business why, I think that allows you to fight, right? Because entrepreneurship is a fight. And in a lot of instances, you're like, man, if I at this stage, if I went and got a job, I'd be paid so much more at the end of the day, 5 o'clock, 5:30. I could forget about that. I don't got to worry about that, right? In entrepreneurship, that is not the case, right? Yeah. That is absolutely not the case. And you really got to have a really compelling why to keep going. And then I think too, you got to be a really good problem solver. There's always going to be a ton of problems. You got to be a pretty good problem solver, but that why is sort of like the driving thing that keeps you going, in my opinion.
I agree. And I think, to be frank, what I've seen is a lot of people, including myself at some point, and it's a microcosm of society and the education system. We really don't truly know ourselves. Like, hey, like writing down, I tell kids to do this exercise, but adults don't do it. Like, write down what's everything that makes you smile. What's everything that makes you angry? Like knowing exactly it. Because then you can look at your life and look at your day. Like, why am I doing X? Like what music uplifts you? What music brings you down? Like if you get real tactical about your life, you can program a life that is on a high level, right?
Yep, absolutely.
And what you said, something deep. I think it's easier now more than ever. You can align your mind to what you can get from hard work and whatnot. But the hard part is aligning your skill set and your behaviors in order to get that. It's easy to be like, oh, your mindset. Oh, I got a wealth mindset. I want rental. I want streams of income. But the principles, the behaviors, the characteristics, the character, like, am I going to be a man or woman of my word? And I am going to, if I do mess up, am I going to own it and make it better? Or am I going to blame somebody else? Like, we want to, when stuff shows up, when you get the Target deal, you want to, hey, we got high character. We had meetings, we're smiling. But then the regular deal with your boy that need that product back in the day when he first started, you was like, hey, like, nah, you treat the same customer when you was first hustling, when you was making the custom labels yourself for $5, you treat them with that same respect. Then it's going to be real. But a lot of us right now, I tell you, if I see one more retweet about you need to pay us our worth and whatnot. Like, no, dude, no, you ain't got no worth yet. That's the thing. You just started.
Gotta earn it, right?
So now let's talk high level, because this is why it's exciting for you to hear, because you've seen it from the ground level, and now your product is wild. It's in retail stores. You have these distribution deals, and now you have, first and foremost, 10,000 square foot warehouse, man. When you signed what was your first thoughts when you walked into the building? Like, whoa, like for real, what went through your mind? Like, yo, 15, your mom had you at 15, right? Single parent household. Like you graduated from college, you didn't know where you was going. And then now 10,000 square foot facility, man. Like, what was your first thought?
So I mean, it's a really great feeling. It really is. Damn. I mean, lots of times I'm like, how the hell am I gonna make it? Right. So it's truly an amazing feeling. I'm still one of those folks that's like, okay, well, what's next? I got to get better with being present. So I enjoy the moments, and then I'm like back to work. Give myself a little pat on the back, and then I'm back to work. But I mean, overall, it's a really amazing feeling. It feels great, and mom is proud. So
enjoy the moments to every month that lease hit. You like, woo! It's all good. Hey, yeah, we got this space, and he said, "Damn, exactly. We got to go get it, man. We got to create
exactly.
So now, walk us through, man. Target, Walmart, getting into retailers. That's like for some. That's every product person's dream, right? Because business and consumer is great, but when algorithms change, when sales things change, and with Google, you can put back in the day, $1,000 of this and it does X, Y, and Z, but they changed that and the algorithms changed and blah blah blah. Mm-hmm. B2B is a little different, and some people say, B2B, yeah, you get Target, you get blah blah blah. So walk us through two things with that. One, misconceptions that most people have when working with these big retailers that you can share, of course. And then two, how did that even come about? Like that's just like, that's huge because so many people that they grind for years and years and they never see that. I mean, and you've been able to do that to be honest, I don't want to say fast because it's been 15 years, a lot of years in the making, right? But you're still young. So walk us through that real quick, man.
Yeah. So first, one of the misconceptions is that once you land on shelves, you kind of got it made, and then you got like bankroll and like there's tons of money like coming in. Yeah. That is not true, right? That is absolutely not true. Honestly, that's the getting on the shelf is probably it's difficult, but it's probably the easier part. Wow. Right. The hardest part is sell through, right? Because if you are not performing on that retailer's shelf, you will be off of that retailer shelf very quickly. And there's some ridiculous fees that will be charged for you occupying that space if you don't perform. That can have a real impact on your business. So that's what I'd say. One of the biggest misconceptions is that once you kind of landed there, that the work is done. Now, the work actually just started. And I think that's why we made a decision very early on to focus on D2C. And really build our business and build like this cult following offline, so that when we had an opportunity to talk to a retailer or be at a retailer like a Target or Walmart, that we were prepared and we can drive people to doors to actually purchase product. The other thing that I'd say is, you kind of got to do your homework before you even begin talking to a retailer like Target or Walmart, right? Are you really ready? Are you really ready understanding that this retailer will usually want 40 to 50% margins. And then you have to spend maybe another 10 to 15% on marketing to drive people into those doors to get the product. Does your product, does your business support those sort of margins to be successful, right? Because you give away 50 and then you put another 10 or 15% into marketing, you're left with 35%, right? And then that 35%, you got staff, you got to keep the lights on, you got to buy product, there's a lot that goes into it. So can your business really support it financially, support a retailer like Target or Walmart?
So that's a huge thing. So let's put on our business caps real quick. From your perspective, being that y'all stayed on the ground, you build the following, still have a cult following doing that. For what you can share online, like what's the benefit of you going to that model and having that and having it both ways? Like, what was the benefit of getting in those places?
So a couple of things. One, online is a great place to be. I mean, you can establish a relationship with your customer, with the consumer, right? Any new product that you launch, you have that consumer's email address. You can reach out to them. You can put new products in front of them. You can reach out to them. You can talk to them about new products that they want. But online is super competitive, and it gets even more competitive, and it is very, very expensive to acquire a customer online, and it gets even more expensive. Especially now, these days with COVID, many more brands have been forced to move online. So it's the costs are rising. The second thing is, the reality is, 80 to 85% of personal care products are still bought offline, right? Mm-hmm. People are still going into Targets and Walmarts and Dwayne Reeds and Walgreens to purchase products, right? And so if you are not in front of the customer, you don't exist, right? So, right? If you just exist, in my email, right? Right? But then you don't really exist, right? Yeah. So, and it's also about not putting all your eggs in one basket. It's about diversifying, right? So like online is important. It'll continue to be important, but it's also about being where the customer is and where he shops and where he want to buy products. And he doesn't just buy them online. He actually buys them at retail. So that's the reason.
Okay. So now let's talk through it real quick. So, I know there's going to be I know once I spin up the caption, put this interview out, there's going to be a lot of people that are in the product space that are interested in just learning more about do's and don'ts, and for first timers and being in a product space, that's different than services and stuff like that. You have to make the products. A lot that goes into it. So from your treasure trove of experience, what advice could you give to our audience that specifically for our people that are just entering the product space in general, some things lessons you've learned that they could apply as they start off?
So one of the first ones I would suggest, anybody entering like the product space is doing your research. If you're thinking about entering a market where there aren't any competitors, you better have a lot of money because it's going to take boatloads of money to open up a new market. So I'd say really thinking about trying to create a new market for most new entrepreneurs. It's very difficult. I won't say that you will lose, but it will be very challenging. And that competition is really a healthy sign that you're entering a healthy market. So that's one, like do your research. The other one is really identifying or building like a USP or unique selling proposition or finding like a niche market, right? Being able to like clearly communicate to a customer on why they should buy from you instead of the competition, honestly, is really the only way to survive in a marketplace because there's tens of thousands of other folks. So if you aren't clear on why somebody should buy from you, it will be very challenging to convince a customer to buy from you. The other thing that I'd say, and you should think about a niche market, right? Like going after smaller markets. Usually it is a good example is when we first started, we were talking to men of color. Yeah. At that time, there weren't a tremendous amount of people really talking to men of color, right? There wasn't this focus or intention on talking to men of color. I identified that as an opportunity. It happened to be considered a niche market. So it allowed me to play in the space where not a bunch of folks were talking to this customer. And so we were able to rise to the top. So that's definitely something to consider. And then the last thing is really keeping your day job initially.
Yeah.
Right. Starting a business is, it requires like a lot of capital. My opinion or my own personal experience is like, don't give up a reliable source of income. Unless you really validated your business idea, right? By selling it to the marketplace, by going out there, by getting feedback, you kind of need to do that. And honestly, entrepreneurship is really hard. It's really, really hard. So I would suggest that you kind of stack the deck in your favor. If you're going to build a product, keep your day job. Have some money coming in to be able to fund the business. And it also allows you to get to a place where if you do identify it as an opportunity or the business is growing, you didn't give away equity too early, right? Like if you decide to go out there and get some money from investors, you didn't give away equity too early. You kind of built sort of the track record. You have some traction. It allows you to flex a little bit more, So those are sort of my three suggestions.
I agree with that 110%. And I think nowadays more than ever, and of course, some people don't have the luxury to get it because some people have to do it, but have to be entrepreneur because right now stuff is. Yeah. But for those that have, trust me, and I repeat this, and y'all have heard this in many episodes. There is no rush to be your own boss. There is no rush. You can be your own boss while working for someone else. It's okay.
Yep.
Release that burden of thinking, hey, I need to jump right out, because I'm telling you, the issues, especially for our Black men out there, specifically to us, because we know how we are when we don't got no money. That affects our fitness, that affects our mental health, our value. If you're in a relationship, regardless of who you're in a relationship with, that's going to affect that. Like I'm living proof. Like you broke, you're going to affect you. And then women, they can say all they want, or men, whatever you're into. It will affect you. How people see you, how you see yourself. You get a cut.
100%.
But a 34-year-old old getting a cut with no money is different than 20 getting a cut with no money, right?
Exactly.
You can still go to the party and still win with no money.
Exactly.
At 34, you can't get a cut. They gonna be like,
you all right?
You good? So, man, now I would be remiss to have somebody your ilk on the call and not get your perspective on hiring. Because I think that's one thing I think a lot of times podcasts, for the most part, it comes from a lens of solopreneurs, which is cool because a lot of people are. But then those that are building teams, man, oh my God, if you ain't never built, because I'm talking about built a team, you have to pay, and they have families, not like you like 20 in college intern. No, people get family and other priorities that mean more to you. Just how you used to check out in corporate America, people don't really think when you're an entrepreneur and people hire you, you're their boss now. So they can check out on you.
Exactly.
So how has that process been? I mean, how have you grown as far as how you hire, how you evaluate talent, how you lead your team over the last couple of years?
Yeah. So, I'll have to admit that I struggled, and I still struggle a lot in terms of hiring talented people. I mean, we have a great team right now. But it's been challenging. It's not one of my strengths, right? Yeah. Like it's part of entrepreneurship, or just life in general is just like knowing where you're strong and where you're weak. And hiring just hasn't been my strength. So I play to my strength by working with folks who are strong in that area, right? And so some of the things that I do is, one, when I'm looking to fill, a potential gap in the business, I have mentors. We have investors that are in the beauty space that have tons of experience. And so the very first thing that I'll do there is I'll reach out, right? Even before we took on investment, I had mentors. So like I'd reach out and I'd say, hey, this is, I'm looking for someone that does X. Do you know of anyone? Sometimes they will know of someone, sometimes they won't. And they say, actually, I'll reach out to someone else, they have this sort of experience. So initially, a lot of the hires that I had gotten was through mentors and folks sort of recommending or referring others. In the instances that they do not know someone, I have learned to find agencies, but not just sort of some random headhunter agency, right? So like we're in the e-commerce space. We were just, looking to bring on a growth marketing director, right? Instead of me going to just any old agency, I specifically found an e-commerce agency that focuses on hiring only e-commerce folks in the e-commerce industry. And so, leverage them to find someone. I did the initial, interview with the candidate, and then I also relied on a mentor of mine that has experience in the area. He's actually in digital marketing, and he's led digital for like some very successful brands. Some of them are like Tracy Ellis Ross's Pattern. Wow. Or was it Millie Bobby Brown? Their digital agency. So I actually, after I spoke with the candidate and thought that the candidate was a fit, I then had the candidate meet with them.
Wow. Okay.
To get a second opinion.
That's smart. Yeah.
Yep. To get a second opinion. Because I have made some hiring flaws in the past. So I rely on other people to kind of vet candidates as well, but people that have experience in those fields.
And if you could not walk us through, but because, and I don't know if you dealt with the same struggle that I currently deal with, but when you're so used to doing it by yourself, right? and most importantly, you're so used to splitting money just with yourself after the business. How are you able to enable your mindset that A, I need to get help, and then two, I'm going to have to pay them now? Like, because you, for so long, it was just tough paying myself, just having food on the table for myself. And then now transitioning that you have a team and you're not paying them $8 an hour. So it's like, hold up. Wow. So I'm now cutting out my margin. And then the people know at the end of the day, when you want to travel fast, you travel with people, right? Yep. But sometimes when you're so used to just barely making it, now you're making it, you just want to say, well, I can increase my margin. I can do this. How did it naturally come easy to you to hire people and kind of work through that? Or was it just a process rather?
Yeah, no, it was definitely a process, because in the beginning, I mean, I did everything, right? Yep. I made product,
package, shipped
product.
Yep.
I answered customer service emails.
Yep.
I did marketing. Like, I did everything, right? But then, as you grow, one, you realize you can't keep doing everything. It's just not possible for you to do everything. And then you also realize that you become a bottleneck, right? Mm-hmm. Like, you have to allow other folks to do things, because there's no way that you can grow a scalable business when you are involved in every call and every decision. Is just not possible, right? So if you really want to grow, and you really want to grow a big, successful business that can have impact on lots of people's lives, you got to figure out what you're great at, and you got to figure out where you're not strong, and then you got to hire to your strength. And you got to take the leap of faith, right? That, the decision that you're about to make is going to work itself out, right? And it's just like incremental steps, and so that's what we've had to do. So like the first thing that we did was, I can no longer make product, right? And so I hired someone, when we were making our own product, I hired someone that was a batch maker that had experience. That was my first hire. My second hire was a customer service person, right? Because I realized I can no longer answer phone calls and emails. It was just taking up a tremendous amount of my time. We were working with a design agency. Realized that, marketing just wasn't something that I could handle on my own. And so I hired a marketing person. So it was incremental steps along the way. It wasn't just sort of like, I didn't just jump out there and hire 10 people. Cause I think, one, that would be irresponsible, right? Because you're talking about people that have, they have family, they have a wife, or they have a husband, they have kids. It's irresponsible to just randomly just go out there and hire people without understanding if the business can really support it. Because the worst thing that you can do is hire someone and then shortly thereafter have to fire them because you don't have the money to pay them,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So now as we start to close it out, let's go to our last round before our culture change round, our future round. So 2021, from what you can share, right? Because I know I like to keep stuff close to the chest, not because I'm caring to anybody else, but it's just like I like the element of surprise. I like rolling stuff out, and plus two, I don't know, but from a high level perspective, what can we expect next from the Scotch Porter brand or from you yourself in 2021? And I know that's a hard question because 2020, every week it throws a different different curve.
Every week. In terms of like what's next for the business, which again aligns with my personal why, is really like our mission is to promote external wellness, right? I talked about our mission being able to help men look and feel their best, live their best, most fulfilled lives. So what's the expression of that, right? 2020 has taught us that wellness and self-care is very, very important. And so now as we think about 2021, it's like, how can we educate or provide experiences that, that showcase how health, wellness, like taking care of yourself really shifts how you feel and perform in your personal and professional life. And so, that the expression of that will continue to be some of the things that we had done earlier, is like, we did live events where we had like meditation moments, or we did like workout events, or we did healthy cooking demonstrations. We'll continue to do that stuff. And then, I've always believed that, self-care, and if our mission is to help men feel their best, just providing like beard hair and skincare products to me just feels like table stakes, right? So I really do feel like we have an opportunity to deliver even more value to customers outside of just hair, beard, and skincare products. So really excited about putting together a really diverse assortment of products that deliver value to our customers.
Yeah,
outside of just beard, hair, skincare products.
And it sounds like even some services on the low, man. Like get that service money. I say, yeah, I see. Gotta get that service. Like, the products is great, but the margins, like when you're doing service stuff, hey, the margins are infinite.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. That's true.
So, and I know you touched on this early in the podcast, but I want you to attack it head on for our audience, man. What do you want your lasting legacy to be? Like when it's all said and done, not to get morbid, when your time on this earth is nearing its completion, and when people are reading about you and people think about you as a man, a friend, or any kind of capacity you currently serve or will serve, what do you want people to say? How do you want people to feel?
So my bigger goal kind of aligns with my primary aim, and I had mentioned that earlier, is right. Is to be excited and to work on new and exciting things that ultimately have a profound impact on my life and the lives of others in a meaningful way. So when I think about sort of my lasting legacy, I realized how difficult it was to be an entrepreneur of color and to raise money and, be in rooms that could really help me. The statistic, we all know the statistic, less than 1% of entrepreneurs are actually able to raise outside financing. We were pretty fortunate to raise, a seed round and a Series A round. So we sort of beat that statistic. So as I think about sort of what's next for me, some of the things that I think about is like, there are entrepreneurs of color out there that are much smarter than I am, have incredible business ideas, and they really just need access and opportunity, right? And so I would sort of in my second life, I'd be able to leverage like my personal and professional experiences and resources to support other entrepreneurs of color, folks that come from communities like mine that look like me. But I also think it's important to invest in people that have that same mindset, right? So like, if I reach back down and bring up another entrepreneur, it's their responsibility and obligation to do the same thing when they become successful. So investing in people that have that same mindset, because it can't just be one entrepreneur. It really does take an army, right? It should be an entrepreneur reaching down, bringing up another entrepreneur, that entrepreneur doing the same thing. So.
Man, love that, man. So we about to go to the culture change round, which is a series of 5 rapid fire questions, get rapid fire answers, then we gonna close the show. You ready, man?
Yeah, I'm ready. All
right, man. If you could change one, no, that's not the question. If you could add one habit and take away one habit, what would they be?
Be a lot more present, and stop focusing on the climb, and spend a lot more time thinking about and focusing on the journey.
What's the best piece of advice that you have never received?
Be a lot more kind to yourself. This thing is a journey.
Yeah. It's and one of these days, and I think that's hopefully you'll tackle via your product, but in 2021, if that could be baked into I don't know if it's a packaging, a product, or even with the product having a one page, like I don't know what it looks like.
Yeah.
I think that'd be really dope, because I mean, that's something that we all struggle with, specifically Black man. You live a culture that, man, bro, like even when we're doing good, we're critical of ourselves. We're like, hey, I could be doing this better.
Time.
I got a legendary podcast. I'm like, dang, I should have went this direction, then went this direction. Like, yo, you didn't realize that, hey, you were building with another brother. But
exactly.
So I think if we can incorporate that into something, I know that's something that's on your mind, mental, for your company as well. I mean,
sure.
That's a huge space. I mean, because we can look good, and a lot of us, man, we brothers, we kings out here. We the original Mecca and the idea of a man and woman in the whole world. Period.
Exactly.
So
listen, I was watching a podcast the other day. It was not a podcast. It was this big industry event that they were streaming live. And I won't name the entrepreneur, but this is a company that has raised hundreds of millions of dollars. was about to be acquired, I think, for a couple 1 point something billion dollars. And I'm looking at this guy, and he's like talking, and everything sounds great, but I'm looking at him and I'm like, this dude just looks unhappy as hell. He just like, you could see it. You could see that he was like very, very unhappy. And I was like, yeah, that I don't want to be that. That's not what I want. That's not life, that's not success, So I just think, spending some time to really figure out what's going to truly, and we talked about this earlier, what truly makes you happy? What's going to make you get up out of bed every day, right? And it can't just be money, right? And chasing business success. Because I'm looking at this guy and I'm like, anybody else would think that he has everything, but I can clearly see that this guy is very, very unhappy, So, yeah.
I know it's crazy though about business, man. And it gets kind of weird because, you probably have many friends that, they got revenues well over 7 figures, et cetera. And of course, there's a difference in revenue and net, but we're not even going there right now. And it's like, they have teams, they have all this, but it's like life is not fun. It's like, yo, when you got into it, it was fun. You were making money, it was cool. But sometimes it seems the more you grow, the less fun it is. Do you kind of think about that sometimes? Like, have you ever thought, like, is there a certain, not you don't want to put caps on yourself, but like, I know, like you just said, you don't want to be that person that, hey, now we're in all these stores, but it's like, you're more stressed. You're not thinking straight. You're losing weight or you're gaining weight. It's just, you feel me?
Yeah. So, there's a couple of things. There's one, again, figuring out what you're good at, right? Where's your strengths, where your weaknesses are. What do you love doing? What do you hate doing? Right. So when you get to a place where you can build a team and you can work on the things that you love doing, because ultimately the only way to really be successful is to work on and spend a lot of time working on the things that you love and that you're good at. Right. Yeah. So, find people to work on the things that you're not strong at, the things that you hate, that's one thing. And then the second thing is, just finding, little moments. So to kind of keep you grounded. And so one of the things that I do is, every week, maybe 3 or 4 times out of the week, I go see my mom. I don't cook because I don't really have a lot of time to cook. So I'll go get some food from my mom and we'll just sit down and talk. And that stuff keeps you grounded and humble, because mom isn't saying, well, how's the business today? Did you close X deal? No, the first question that your mom is going to ask you is, how are you? Right. Yep. And it's usually followed by like, are you lying? That's my mom, right? She always like, oh, are you lying? And I'm like, no, I'm fine. So like finding those moments of like centering is incredibly important in terms of keeping you grounded and happy, so that you're not just chasing sort of the next big thing, right?
That's powerful, man. And last 2 questions are, last 3. What is your favorite movie or book and why?
So, man, I'm a podcast like person, right? Mm-hmm. So there's a couple of podcasts, including Minority Trailblazers. But there's a few, and like I'll pop open my phone to kind of look at them. Yep. But some of them are my favorites are like How I Built This by Guy Raz. Another one is Access and Opportunity with Carla Harris. Okay. Because I'm technically in the beauty grooming industry, the Glossy Beauty podcast is another one. How Success Happens, E-commerce Influence, Startup Therapy, Second Life. So these are a few that I listen to. So every day I'm like listening to a podcast. So I spend a lot of time listening to podcasts, and then I'm always reading. I have a very inquisitive mind, so I'm always reading and trying to keep up to date on everything, not just business related, but just things in general,
Mm-hmm. And what is your biggest fear?
Failing, because I was afraid to try. So living with regrets because I was afraid to try something.
And if you were the president of the United States, what is the first thing you would do?
Jeez. Probably create social justice programs that really focus on like Black entrepreneurship, or justice reform. Even thinking about like cannabis industry right now, lots of states are legalizing it. And to get a license or to start in that particular industry is lots and lots of money. So unfortunately, some of the folks that were on the street, selling marijuana, it's now legal and they'll be cut out, right? And some of them are still, in prison. So I think there definitely needs to be some reform there where we, offer some ownership opportunity to folks that kind of pioneered that industry.
You're damn right. Pioneered it, bro. Like, come on, bro. It's crazy. That's either here or there, man. I that's one thing. I'm glad you mentioned that. I gotta have a weed person on here to kind of talk through that, man. Probably Freeway Rick Ross, because I know he's working on some stuff, and then he's doing some cool stuff. He's on a lot of platforms, but it's kind of it's baffling. Especially you from New Jersey, you from up top, like it's baffling. 20 years ago, the stuff that people were getting killed for, they're getting in prison forever, destroying communities, and now that's evangelized. It's like, what?
Exactly.
Like, what kind of world do we live in?
Exactly. It's the craziest thing, man.
So that was the last question of the rapid fire, and I know we always, you listen to podcasts before, we always close the show with this one question to end it all. And if you could change one thing about society, most specifically our African American culture, what would it be and why?
Probably figure out how to invest a lot more in teaching, our kids about entrepreneurship, economics, media, government, because these really are areas that we need a lot more ownership and representation. If we have a lot more of us in positions of power in media, have money to lobby government officials that create policies that affect us, we'll see real change. So that's probably what I would do. Invest in those areas.
Man, that's powerful. And what I tell you, brother, it's been a phenomenal show. I appreciate you, your company, your team, and everything that you stand for. So where can our audience find more about you, Scotch Porter, and get updates on what you got going on, et cetera? Where can we find that out online and in the digital space?
You can find me. I don't have a heavy Instagram presence, but you can find me on Instagram. I'm very new to Instagram, Calvin _Quallis. LinkedIn, you can find me on LinkedIn. You can email me, calvin@scotchporter.com. You can find more about Scotch Porter at scotchporter.com and find us on LinkedIn and some of the other platforms.
And you can go to your local retailers, man. If you see that,
Target or Walmart.
Yeah, Target or Walmart, man. And hey, Minority Trailblazer Nation, when this podcast releases, man, blow up, man. Send emails about the podcast, man. Blow it up. I know I'm gonna be on your head tops with ads and stuff like that, man. Show the brand some love. I'm coming through. I got a special thing I'm gonna do as far as with the we're gonna roll some stuff out with this episode, and I'm excited, man. So Minority Trailblazer Nation, y'all already know what y'all need y'all to do. Two things and two things only. No, three things. Number one, be safe. Be safe. Be vigilant. Mask up. Be safe. Number two, you leave a review in this podcast, 5 stars and 5 stars only. If it ain't 5 stars, email me and whatever your critique is, and I'll make sure that I don't read that email and I delete it. And then number three, make sure you are changing the freaking culture. Good night. Yo, I know I said good night, but before y'all go to sleep, make sure, if you're looking for a job, you're an HBCU student or an HBCU student, go to recdiv.com and go get you a job. Or if you're an employer looking specifically to hire people of color that went to historically Black colleges and universities, head over to recdiv.com. That's RECDIV.com. And special shout out to our sponsor for this episode, Scotch Porter. So if you are in line for beard, hair, face, fragrance, and all those good products, if you're looking for safe products created Black owned for your king or your queen or your children, whatever it is you want to support, head on over to scotchporter.com, and I'm telling you, you will be blessed. I am an avid user of Scotch Porter brand products, man. You can find them in Walmart and Target, or you can just head over to scotchporter.com. They always got great deals. Right now they're running a $10 off when you jump on there and join their list, and all that good stuff. So make sure you head over to scotchporter.com. Yep, that's all we got. Love y'all. Peace.